Definitely, definitely. Because we're mindful of Mr. Odom Jr.'s time. Towards the end, we're gonna do check-ins with other brothers. So Ron, the floor is back. The floor is yours, Ron.
Yeah, I spoke a little bit in terms of introducing this superstar, powerful brother that we have with us. But I will do it no justice to introduce him, other than, as I mentioned, his beautiful family. But please, Mr. Odom, the stage is yours. Talk to the brothers. Let us know who you are and maybe what brought you here tonight after talking to Derek.
Oh, um, I received a it didn't take much to get me here, I'll tell you that. When I heard that there was a group of brothers meeting regularly and sharing wisdom, sharing encouragement, sharing resources and advice, it was a very easy yes for me. I make my way in the world as an artist, and that used to mean that as a younger man, that meant that I went on auditions and tried to book jobs. But now in my 40s, it really, I know that the most interesting projects, the most interesting roles ahead of me are not going to come from the phone ringing. It's going to be from projects that I develop myself, especially once the mandate became clear for me on a very personal level. As I said, the first part of your career really is just trying to get a gig, just trying to make a living, living your dream. But yeah, after having worked a little bit and having found some success, um, I started to really think about, okay, what am I looking for? What am I trying to leave behind? And what I'm trying to leave behind is, man, a couple of handfuls of truthful renderings of Black life, truthful renderings of Black life, because every time we see ourselves as we are, and it's all over, it happens in music, it happens, of course, in TV and film, it happens here on this Zoom, every time y'all show up as you are, or, just out there in the world, every time we show up authentically and in my world, that means, I play these different characters, but I want it to be people that we recognize. I want you to recognize the man before you. I want it to feel a little something like your uncle, your cousin, your brother, your daddy. So anyway, when the mandate for myself became truthful renderings of Black life, then I really knew that it was going to be up to me to shepherd those things, because that's not really what the industry is into as a whole. I really have to uh, push for that and advocate for that, for myself and for all of us. For the young lady I met on the Zoom, it's for all of us. So that's me. That's how I'm making my way through the world, trying to offer something, make a contribution.
And it's an incredible contribution. Please, I feel like I interrupted you. What were you gonna say?
No, no, you didn't interrupt me.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I think that even with the platform and the stardom that you've earned and we celebrate you for, there's some commonalities.
Yeah.
At the onset, we talked about your family, and then we also are aware that your wife is also in the business. So, how do you manage being a family with such busy schedules and two younger children?
We have a fair amount of help. We live not too far from my wife's family. Um, my family helps when they can, but I'll say, for us, um, we don't spend the we spend a fair amount of our yearly salary on help for the kids, like the village, as y'all know, the village really is kind of something you have to pay for these days. and just the nature of the way we travel and stuff. It's just something that has to be factored into our budget. So I guess what it means to me is just making sure that um if when I have to roll, my wife doesn't feel abandoned. If she has to go work, which she does, oftentimes it's like there's somebody always here, usually here to help me make sure that the kids get driven to school and picked up and stuff. So that's just the nature of our thing. It takes a lot of a fair amount of help, and then like all of it feels like it requires everything else. It requires everything that I've got, all the discipline I've learned, everything I've learned about who God is and what he's capable of. It requires all that I am, but this is the most important job there is. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. You were talking a little bit about the works that you've become a part of, and sort of being truthful in terms of the renderings of Black life, and at this stage in your career, needing to create those projects yourself.
yeah.
We get together, and a lot of times we talk about the challenges that we have at work. Maybe it's not getting a promotion, feeling less than.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience as a Black man, in music, film, on stage, um, and how you navigate. And even another part to that question, um, how do you find a safe space when you meet these challenges?
Yeah. To me, it really has been, I think ultimately it's, and about how making strengthening that inner resolve, that determination, that perseverance, to believe that we are meant to be the head and not the tail. Of course, there's times that we follow, but we're meant to be leaders. And so, and the world doesn't always, tell us the truth of that. So for me, it's been, it takes a fair amount of work, you know, um, diligence to believe that. For me, I try to be mindful about, especially these days, I try to be mindful about what I take in. Chappelle talks about that when he's creating a new special, he's a big hip hop head, and he said, when he's creating a new special, he really has to cut out like um he listens to classics, because he's trying to, when he's trying to write a classic, he makes sure that he filters out some of the noise and makes sure that he's like really listening to things that are going to come out in his work, because what goes in is what comes out. So I try to, carefully sort of curate the images that I'm taking in. I listen to a lot of Kendrick, I listen to a lot of Coltrane, to really plug into Black genius. I want to be in touch with Black genius across the continuum. I want to be learning from from us, across time. What is the wisdom? What is the truth that has sustained across generations? Because there's some of this stuff is fad, right? But there's something about, and forgive me, I'm an artist, this is the stuff that I'm interested in, but there's something about it that words are going to betray me, right? Because it's not meant to be spoken about. It's something, we know it when we see it. We know the truth when we see it. And there's been something about our bop, our bip, that has that's there, what I mean, like before the language, and it remains. And so I'm trying to tap into that. When I tap into that, I can't lose. When we tap into that, we can't lose. We can't lose, because we're only in at that point, that we're saying the thing that only we can say. we're tapping into that unique contribution that can only come from the divine masculine. You know what I mean? Like the divine black masculine. So that's what that's what I try to plug into. I really do. And I'll take Black Genius wherever I can find it, but my consistent sources of that, Coltrane left so much here for us, so I'm grateful for that. And in the contemporary space, Kendrick is really kind of endlessly inspiring to me. I like the art that he creates, but also, like I appreciate the man that he is as well.
That's awesome. Um, I do want to open it up because I know there's a lot of brothers who want to ask a couple of questions, if that's okay. Kind of go around. If there was anything that you wanted to share in terms of your story, in terms of when you started out on your journey, because I think it's also good to have that sort of context to know that things don't just turn over overnight. We didn't just go to a show one day and you just happen to fall into the front stage.
Yeah, I mean, to make it universal, because ain't none of us, we ain't kids on here, but I really feel like, I hope that this word is for me, so I remind myself of it, so I bet there's somebody else that needs to hear it. Those little, I believe that inspiration is divine. Inspiration comes from a holy place, a sacred place, and I must honor the 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 things that God puts on my heart, the things that I'm inspired to do, the things that I'm inspired to create. Somebody created this space here that we're all in right now. Somebody followed that inspiration, and now this space is here when we need it. When we need to organize, when we need to get together quick, we have this space. And so we must follow through. I must follow through on the things that I'm inspired to do, because I know if I don't do them, they won't get done. If I don't do them, they won't get done. If I don't write that script, if I don't see that show is produced, if I don't um, reach out to that person and tell them I'm thinking about them, and I was touched by the work that they made 2 years ago, and please make sure you keep doing it. If I don't do those things, they won't get done. So I try to make it a practice. I really do. I try to when I'm inspired to do something, when God, when the muse, gives me something like that, I hold it dear to me. I hold it, it's precious to me, and I pursue it. I pursue it every day, every week. I don't let those things go.
That's awesome. That's inspiring. I'll let Ish and then Sean have hand raised.
Okay. Mr. Odom, thank you for your time, for coming on and talking to the brothers. I do believe fatherhood is a work of art. So can you talk about how art and music helped you in your raising your kids?
Now, that's well said. I mean, I think that the arts have made me a more empathetic human being. So I don't look at my children as much as I want they're as much as I want my children to be successful, and I want them to be successful, right? And that might look very different to me than it looked to my parents or previous generations. Anyway, I have empathy for them, and I want to get to know them. I don't assume that they're carbon copies of me and my wife. So I think creativity. I try to bring creativity to my parenting. I try to, yeah, bring a sense bring a sense of improvisation, and where in improv class. I don't know if any of y'all took improv classes back in the day, you know, but that yes and I really try to bring that to my parenting. Somebody said, I love this. Before I had my first kid, um, I heard this thing that I just really love. They were like, their whole theory of parenting is the only time, I wish I could remember who said it, but he said the only time he says no to his kids is when it's for their safety.
Mhm.
So if it whatever they he just he made it a sort of his theory of parenting to be this permissive parent, to say yes. The only time he says no is when it's for their safety. So so what that mean, you know, I really took it on. So most of the time it means like when they ask me to play, when they ask me to do something, the answer is always yes. Lord knows plenty of the time I don't feel like it, but but I say yes, and it gets me, you know, it keeps me involved in their world. It keeps me learning. It keeps me engaged, and it also makes it so that when I do say no, the no's are rare. The no's are much rarer than when I was a kid. You know, I got plenty of no's, but my kids get mostly yeses. So anyway,
Uh, that's awesome, and I'm going to say yes to my daughter with that inspiration because after Sean and William, she wants to ask a question too. So,
okay,
Sean,
amen. So
Sean and
yes,
William, then
yes, and
Jackie. Thank you.
Oh, I'm a chief for a second, Leslie. Good to meet you officially. Been a big fan for a while. And I give a shout out to my brother Robert, who's on the calls with us. We've been trying to get him to join. I told him you were going to be here, so he's here tonight just to be able to listen in. He's going to laugh as I say this. I hate musicals. Hamilton is the first one that I enjoyed, thoroughly enjoyed it, and lost my mind after that. You did an interview, so it's two. One's about Hamilton and one's about, I think, kind of your musical career. So with respect to Hamilton, you talked about when Wait For It came out and how you like, it wasn't quite in me just yet. And you said that as you kind of looked at Hamilton, him being in a hurry and Burr having to wait for something, you were like, that's when I got it. So I think my first question is, what about, I think, playing Burr was transformative for you? In other words, what part of Burr is probably still in Leslie that you've taken with you since that is done and you've kind of transitioned and you're doing other big things, and kind of connected that as well too, as a musician, as a thespian, you're doing all of these things and creative outlets and just who you are. Talk to us about how that level of creativity helps you be a better parent. I think you talked about the improvisation before, but definitely curious about those two things. What about Burr is still in you all these years later that helps you be a better man, better leader, creator? And then also, yeah, what about, I think, this musical career, because you're a global phenomenon. How does that help you be a better parent? Because I mean, folks that can show up, I think, at your level of success can have a big head, but you're like in your backyard, you got on a hoodie, you're chilling, you're talking to us. And so how does that, yeah, how did that musical career, that acting career, how did it help you be a better parent? Burr and you and musical career parent. Thank you.
you know, thank you for the great questions. You know, I remember when one of the other things, you know, y'all know what it is to when you become a new dad. That first kid is like when you know, all the nerves and you know, you're trying to read all the books and writing down lists of things to remember name. Anyway, so I remember when my daughter was born, um, I remember, man, I had an ongoing list. I was looking out in the world, and she was born in 2017. All right, yeah, 2017. And I was looking for examples of conviction. I was looking around for examples of conviction. Is there anybody out there that is saying what they believe and believing what they say? Where can I find that so that I can point my baby toward that, right? The list was shorter than I wanted it to be. And ultimately, what God, of course, revealed to me. Maybe it's always been this way, but it is certainly this way now. You know, I'm gonna have to be what I want these babies to see. I'm going to have to be the first example of whatever I'm looking for them to see. We're not living in an age anymore where we can solely trust even the church to teach the babies who God is and what God said. We don't live in an age where we can totally trust the schools that they go to teach them all that they need to know about who they are and their history. And so so yeah, it being an artist. Oh, so examples of conviction. Certainly, I mean, when my babies came to see Pearly Victorious, you know, this Ossie Davis play, this 62-year-old play, I want them to have a memory. If they don't remember what daddy said or daddy did, I want them to have a memory that like daddy looked like he believed in what he was doing. I could see and feel that was something my dad was passionate about. And that's what it looks like when I'm passionate about something. When there's something that I'm passionate about, it needs to look and feel like when my dad had conviction, when he believed in something, I felt it and I knew that he believed in it. So that's how that's helped me. And then what from Burr is with me, I think that that was I did that show like 500 times, and I thought a lot about my brother earlier on the call said that baby's mom wants to move back in, um and I thought about with Burr and Hamilton, these guys that they knew each other for decades. They circled each other. They ran in the same circles for decades. These were statesmen. These were successful, wealthy, revered men. And their shit ended on a dueling ground with one of them blowing the other one away, the vice president blowing the other one away. So a lot of times in that show, I thought of, if somebody could show you on your wedding day, this is what it's going to look like the day of your divorce. You might not believe it. If somebody could show two best friends, here's what it looks like 10 years from now, the day y'all can't stand each other. Like that thing of like, nah, what? What would it take to get me there? So, so I just said that to say, like, if there's anything about Burr, he taught me moderation. You know what I mean? Like, is to not let anything get to do my best, man. To not let anything get so crazy that that I would have to live with that kind of regret.
That's fire, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's real good.
That's awesome. William.
Hey, I love everything that you're saying, and it's really hitting home for me. What I One question I had for you is, how do you find your your peace, your stability with being a father? You have so many titles. You a musician, a writer, an actor, a father. When do you have time, and how do you find the time in order to just do your hobbies? What kind of hobbies do you have? Do you play video games? Do you like playing the piano? And then with everything on your plate, it is more apparent that we cannot lose ourselves. We cannot lose what we love, our passion, what drives us. I know you guys were just talking about that with another brother not too long ago, but how do you find yourself to be just Mr. Odom and not have so many titles and be able to love your craft, love your hobbies, and just be yourself and not lose yourself in all the madness?
It's a good question, man. I started there was this is 2.5 years ago now. Listen, I'll tell you, I wasn't always good at it. I'm better at it now, to answer your question. I think I can answer this question now in a way that could be useful. 5 years ago, had you asked me, whatever I said would have been bullshit. So I'm glad you're asking me now, not then. But about 2.5 years ago, there was this experience. My wife was in a challenging season. She was from my vantage point, I was looking at her and I was trying to um I had been workshopping, brothers, my speech that I was going to give her. I was thinking about it, what am I going to tell her to inspire her and motivate her and to get her back into her life, whatever. And Holy Spirit whispered, whatever you want to see her do, you do it first. You do it. Right? I was like, that's interesting. So I gave it a try, And so what that meant to me was I started waking up about 2 hours. The first day was about 2.5 hours, but now when I do it, it's about 2 hours before my kids and my wife wake up. So that was 4:30 for me then. Started waking up at 4:30, and that was my time. That was my time I did my workout. I had my coffee. I read my paper. I did my journal. That was just, man, that was just, I don't owe nobody nothing. I don't, like don't nobody need anything from me because I found, man, almost immediately, like, yo, the second day of doing it, like my whole thing shifted because the other way around, and I know it's tough because, some of us work different hours. I get it. It's not easy, but the other way around, it's like as soon as I get out of bed, there's people that need something from me. There's people that want something from me. And so I was, wound tight, snapping at people. They like, look, I ain't like, hey, Mr. Grump, like what, what I didn't ask, I need my breakfast, bro. Like, sorry. But yeah, like that, putting myself on the list. We'd be surprised. We serve in a lot of ways. Men serve in a lot of ways. We do, and whether we realize it or not, so many of us are not putting ourselves on the list. And video games are nice, but it ain't really video games. Like it's really spending whatever that quiet time is with you. Working out is amazing for me. Journaling, like that, as whatever as that sounds, yo, journaling is amazing. um really, like if y'all don't, anyway, I hope somebody asks me a question about journaling. I'll stop talking, but waking up early and putting myself on the list, man. I did that consistently. The first time I did a program, I did it for 90 days, or don't let me lie, I did it for 12 weeks. I committed to 12 weeks, and then I did it for another 12 weeks, and it just radically changed my whole life. It radically, I learned, I developed a practice of, now I know when I'm feeling a certain kind of way, I know how to put myself back on the list. I know what I'm missing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks. And I keep getting motivated by what you're saying. So maybe I'll actually get out of bed when my alarm goes and do
That's your
something.
time. That's free time. Can't nobody, that is your time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you keep dropping jewels, but Jackie and then Jerome. So I'll get the floor.
Thank you.
Hey,
Okay,
Jack.
I'm back. My question is,
Jackie's
how did
back.
you how did you find the motivation to keep pushing yourself despite all the challenges in the career? And how did you continue to stay positive?
Different things motivate different people, but once you find out what that is for you, you just have to make sure you're getting your dose of that thing. For some people, is they have a pastor that really inspires them. They have an author that they love, a type of music, nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, the older you get too, Jackie, it really becomes on you. It becomes on you to make sure that you're not just pouring out, that you're not just expending, that you are ingesting as well, that you're putting stuff back into yourself, because what goes in is what comes out. And so if you are run down and depleted and empty, it gets hard. So I don't know what it's going to be for you, but I have my things. I have the things that I know when I'm run down, what I need to pour back into me. So it's, to keep an intimate knowledge of that list. And it's like natural herbal meds or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You need to make sure you get those things in your system.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
for
much.
sure. For sure.
Thanks so much. Jerome?
Yes, yes, yes. Forgive me. I got here late on the highways and byways, getting home from work. So when I came on, you were saying something to the effect that how you was raised and you got a lot of no's and you give your children more yes than no's. So I'm sitting here thinking after you said that, I said, well, wait a minute. if he got all these no's and look where he is today, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, do you think that you're doing a better job with your children than when your parents did with you? Is the
Oh,
question.
that is a great question. That is a great question. You know, me and my dad had this big, man, thank you for asking me that question. Me and my dad had this big philosophical discussion. It's, you know, he has a real different opinion about it because that's what my dad says. My dad says, you know, he's not really interested in taking any kind of responsibility for any mistakes he might have made because he says, well, look how you turned out. Which, listen, I've let it go, but man, there was a time that was so angering to me because it's like, bro, do you know how long it's taken me to heal from some of that stuff? Like the, it's just baffling to me that somebody can like that the work that I've done to work through some of that stuff, some of that trauma and shit. He's like, well, look at you, look how you turned out, you know. So anyway, I've learned to not look for affirmation from Pops necessarily. He's giving me all the affirmation I need, to be honest. I'm the one that must affirm it now. But what I'll say is this: here's the fundamental difference between me and my dad. And I'm so grateful to God that he gave it to me. He said, my dad's philosophy was hard times make strong men. Hard times make strong men was my dad's philosophy. I love that he said it. And on some level, that was how he parented, right? So I said, Dad, and I knew it in the moment. I said, what you didn't understand was that I had my own hard times. I don't need to be Abel's hard time. The world is going to be Abel's hard time. The world is challenging. I don't need to be Lucy's hard time. I'm going to be their confidant. I'm going to be their dad. I'm going to be their coach. I'm going to be there to love them and soothe them and make them smile and all that stuff. But I don't need, you know, my dad didn't trust that. And probably because his dad didn't. So my dad thought he had to be my hard time to make me strong.
Right.
I believe the world is going to give these kids plenty of challenges. And when they come home with a challenge, or when I see them struggling with something, it's my job to help them with their hard time. So, and we'll see. You know, my kids might come along and tell me you did it. We ain't like what you did. And that's fair. The other thing I learned from my dad is like, I hope that I have done enough work on myself to be able to take responsibility for that, for whatever mistakes I've made with these kids, that I'll be able to look at them and say, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. How can I help today? How can I help you today where you are? Because now certainly like now the life is yours. And so how can we help mend this so that you can be okay? Because ultimately I want you to be okay.
Right. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. Ish. You're muted, Ish. It seemed like you're dropping some gems, so just
Oh, no, no.
rewind that, play it back.
Oh, just questions. My first question, you talked about service, and I do believe there's service and gratitude. So, can you give us like an aha moment for you when you realize you were in gratitude in your service, whether it's your family, whether just charity? And then the second question is, you know, I know it's important to give children affirmation. How do you balance giving your child affirmation, but as well as being honest with them about the realities of the world?
Ooh. Well, y'all, I'm sure lots of y'all have older kids than I too. So shit, I'm learning. You know, I have a 3 and a 7-year-old. So thank God I don't have to give my 7-year-old, 17-year-old lessons. So far I can handle the 7-year-old lessons, you know? And we will grow up together. And hopefully I'll be ready, you know what I'm saying? Like when the time comes. Because, you know, for me, I just find that like, man, I'm just trying to like maintain their trust right now that we've built a lot of trust with one another. And I do that, you know, we do that by telling each other the truth so far. You know, there's not really anyway. that was, yeah, I'm trying to maintain their trust and be able to tell them the truth, even when it hurts. That's what I'm gonna try that. We're gonna see how that goes. So far, so good. You know, they're super like, this is what I mean. I mean, my son is 3. He's fucking 3. The day after the election, he's, you know, so I knew I was gonna have to have a conversation with my daughter because she's super aware of it. My son's 3, you know, he don't know. So the day I come into his room and I think he's like, I think I'm normal. Like I think I'm just doing the thing. First thing, yes, he said, Dad, are you happy? The fuck you be like, yeah. I say to him, of course, baby, every moment I spend with you, I'm happy. Right? So let it go. Right? I dodge it. A half hour later, dude is asking me again, Dad, are you happy? Like he's like, bro, why are you lying to me? Like I'm feeling your energy, bro. He said he went through these emotions. I'm kind of stuck, right? I'm thinking, and he said, are you angry? Are you sad? Or maybe just a little bit nervous? I I kid you on hand to God. Maybe just, I said, yeah, baby, I think I'm just a little bit nervous. He's asking me, why are you nervous? I said, well, you know, this guy won the presidency and I don't think I can trust him, you know. Anyway, and then he's like talking about cars again. But anyway, I'm trying to tell him the truth. I'm trying to just build a truthful relationship. I feel like, you know, if we can do that, then I don't have to remember my lies, right? Like if we can just tell each other the truth, I don't got to remember all the lies. Yeah, me and my wife have an ongoing thing about Santa and shit. I'm like, that's like the only lie that I actively tell these kids. And I feel some type of way about it. I don't like it. I forget your other question, Ish, but
Oh, my first question is that, you know, I do believe there's service and gratitude. You find gratitude and service. So tell me your aha moment when you were in gratitude.
so I think that I remember when I got to Los Angeles over 20 years ago, and I was looking for a mentor. Man, did I wanted somebody to talk to because I knew that I wanted to do TV and film, and I wanted to do Broadway and maybe even a little bit of music, and I couldn't find this mentor. And years later is because I realized I was looking for myself. There was the thing that I was looking for. I am that thing now. You know, there's bigger stars. I wasn't looking for a big star. I was looking for somebody that had a career like the one, thank God, that I've been able to have for myself. And I couldn't find that person. And so the gratitude is now when I meet young brothers who are trying to do all those things, they know to call me. So I have a profound sense of gratitude when a young brother like Roman Banks, he's been on the road now with that MJ tour. He's so good. He plays MJ in that tour, the Michael Jackson tour. And there's, you know, 4 or 5 other, you know, young people in the arts that call me every few months just to ask me. They'll ask me about a contract, or they ask me, you know, they want advice or whatever, you know. And so I feel I'm just so grateful that that I've lived long enough to be the guy that I was looking for.
Incredible. Such profound words. We really sincerely appreciate you. My brother Puma, then my brother Sheldon. Everybody's my brother, but those are my brothers, my brothers.
Oh man, Leslie, good to see you. Thanks for being on, man. That last statement was powerful. You lived long enough to be the person you was looking for. That's amazing, man. And you only in your 40s, so man, that's amazing. And I said only because I'm 45. Anyway, so but anyway, almost 2 things. You mentioned something. My question is about journaling, but you mentioned your father. I want to say I'm glad you're able to give your father some grace, because as a father, you know, all he did the best that he knew how to do as a father. No manual. You know that by now, right? And the other thing you mentioned was Santa Claus for your children. So I lived I was a co-parent. So I only have one child. My daughter, she had 2 houses, my house and her mother's house. So in my house, there was no Santa. And she was fine with that. You know, she was fine with it. So she wasn't destroyed because there was no Santa in my house. But but my question is about, you mentioned journaling. Now, if I died today and my boy Derek came to my house, he would find about 20 journals in my basement, right? Because I keep starting over and over. So my mindset about journaling is to leave my life behind for my daughter to read about, my inner thoughts in my journal. So when you journal, what are you journaling about, and why do you journal? Is my question.
Oh man, thank you for asking. I was hoping that somebody would ask. No, I did that. There's a program, they call it a recovery program. It's gonna sound hokey, so I'm, because I know I'm on with some cool brothers, so I don't want y'all to laugh at me. But there's this thing, it's called The Artist's Way. For is this book. It's a little cheesy, right? But so it hung around the house for years. My wife bought it. And it's one of those, self-help kind of things anyway. So I never was gonna do it. Then we went to a wedding. This is after the pandemic, and a group of my wife's friends had done it together in a group like this. Maybe it's a thing y'all could do, but a group like this, they had done it together. They had done the 12-week program together, and they would meet and they would, talk about it or whatever. And I really respect this young lady that was telling me about it. And I was like, well, what's the whole thing? Like, she was like, look, I know I felt that same way about it. She said the book is two things. You can read the book or not. It's two things that the whole book is about. One is, they call it the morning pages, which is just a morning dump. 3 pages, 3 pages in the morning that you just write, no filter. You just, you say, get everything out of your head. If what's in there is, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write. Why don't I know what to write? Well, I don't know what to write because I've never really written like this before. Maybe it was my 3rd grade teacher who told me I couldn't write. And so you end up finding your way through and you get it out. Now, here's the thing, for the first, I forget how many, like 7 weeks of the program, you're not allowed to read the pages back, and you're not allowed to share them with anybody. So the 2 things that I realized that did was, like, it really got me in the process of, once it was out, it was gone. Like, I could really turn the page on some shit. I really was like, so anyway, yeah, I would say whatever I had to say. And then I did, it wasn't, I no longer had to hold mental space for it because it was on the page. Anyway, the morning pages and the artist date. 2 things. That's it. That's the whole book. The artist date was once a week. You take yourself on a solo expedition. She believes that, like, that there's a creative within us all, and the creative is always going to be a child. And so it is repairing that relationship with young Puma, young Paul, young Ishmael, young Sheldon. What would he think was cool? Like, you go see a scary movie by yourself. You take yourself to on a solo, trip to the beach, just to sit there, look at the honeys, whatever but once a week you take yourself. And again, like, for Black men, we just don't, those 2 things alone changed my life. For the first time in my life, I gave a shit about little Leslie, about myself, that it became my responsibility to just grab his hand once a week and spend some time with him. Once a week changed my whole life. Number one, I got to, y'all, I'm gonna share something with y'all. I could cry right now. I'm not going to, but my 3rd day of journaling, I don't even know where this fucking came from. My 3rd day of journaling, I wrote down in my journal, "You are a piece of shit. Prove me wrong." So here's this belief that I have about myself. Somewhere deep down, I have that belief about myself, and a prayer that in this process, I would show myself the evidence that that is not true. It took me 5 months, something like that, doing this program. There came a journal entry where I finally was able to write, "You are not a piece of shit. You have proven me wrong." And so I have the evidence, the empirical evidence. It ain't something that that Sean told me about myself. It ain't, my dear brother who gave me that introduction. Don't none of that stuff. That stuff is nice, but I know who I am. I have the evidence of who I am, and I have a relationship with myself. I'm finally, for the first time in my life, I'm no longer a mystery to myself. When me and my wife get into the weeds sometimes, I really can represent myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really do know that when she gets it confused and she's like, no, I think you said this. I'm like, baby, I promise you, I know why I said it. It's not that. Anyway, so it helped me. The journaling, that's what I'm journaling about. So these days, 2.5 years later, I don't necessarily journal every single day, but I journaled every day for almost 2 years.
Hey, Leslie, I just want to interrupt you. What do you mean cheesy? That was powerful. That's what this group is all about. Being
That
open
means
and
not
honest.
lying. This book is fire. He
This
is
is
not
what we're all
lying.
about.
This book is it.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. I'm gonna get the book. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Brother Shells. It's awesome.
Good night. Good night. Everybody hearing me? Yeah, I just have two quick questions. Like, what did you lose for your craft? And if you was scared while in that period, if you was scared, what did you do to survive? Now, let me put context on it. Like, context is like, let's say your faith have certain beliefs that might borderline some of your craft. But you know your craft is like a calling. So you don't want to abandon your craft. So you choose your craft. How you transition through that period? Did you lose people because you hold on to your craft? And while losing people, what did you do being scared? These are deep questions because I believe in artistry, creativity. It brings out your soul. It's like you're naked to the world. And because you're naked, that makes you vulnerable. And we as males, we don't have a healthy relationship with vulnerability. So it tends to bring up all your insecurities, and it creates a storm inside as a creative being. So it's like, so those two questions are just to get the context. Those questions like, what did you lose and what did you do being scared, losing it?
Y'all ain't playing with these questions. God, I'm worn out. I ain't used my mind and my heart this much. In a concentrated time. What brilliant questions. My goodness gracious. Thank y'all so much for the opportunity. Here's the truth. What did you lose? My God. Here's the testimony that I have, my brothers. The testimony that I have is, in my experience, it's almost Abraham and Isaac every time. It's been, I didn't know it. I never knew it before. I never knew it leading up to it, but it's almost always been God wanted to see that I was willing to sacrifice it for the calling. So that has most often meant walking away from things that I knew were not, that didn't feel right. The last one was, last time being, I won't bore you with the long story, but I was on a film, and I take our image very seriously. I'm in an image business. It's an image factory over here. And so if I'm in a film and I'm playing a Black father, that's Black fatherhood up on the screen. When I play a Black man, and I'm always playing a Black man, except when I played Aaron Burr, but even then I played, I was a Black man playing Aaron Burr. But when my image, there's a black man on the screen, black manhood is on the screen. And so there are just things that I take very seriously. There's things that I won't do. And so anyway, we're on this film. This is a big movie. And shoot, one second. It's a big movie, and I had been fighting for weeks about certain moments and really just trying to protect the realm and protect our images. And it was a fight. It was a struggle. And there came a day, y'all, I was sick. I have never walked off a job in my life. I ain't never walked off a job at, you know, the bagel factory. Anyway, I had to walk off this movie. You know, I left on a Friday. I was sick. I left on a Friday. I left the set. I left my apartment. I left the city, and I was unwell. You know, I got doctor's notes from my pastor, my physician, and my therapist. It was like, hey, yo, don't call me. I don't know when I'll be back. I ain't know. Anyway. So what I was willing to lose in that moment was everything. What I was willing to lose, I said, you know, this movie, this is, you know, this is a $60 million movie, whatever, you know, it's like, I got whatever I got. Y'all can have all this. I'm not coming back. And I mean it. So I didn't know what that meant, you know, but I'm telling my lawyers, I'm telling my agents, you know, that's what that is. And so eventually we found our way. You know, I had a list of things that I needed. I didn't realize what I needed when I walked away. But the first thing on my list was, I need a Black producer. I need y'all to bring on a Black producer because I'm having discussions about, respectfully, a bunch of white dudes. I need some, you know, I need a person of power on this set yeah, I don't want to be by myself. So I got that. I got a couple of other things too. None of the things I wanted was more money, or, you know, I wanted help doing this work. So what have I lost? I thank God that today, I have to say, you know, I sit here today, the only thing I've lost is the need to pretend. The only thing I've lost is you know, the shit that I needed to shake off anyway. Um, you know, and that's how God works. I thank God. You know, every now and again, though, he wants to know, I think, you know, from us, he wants to know that we'll choose him, that we will sit, that we will make the sacrifice only for him. I ain't sacrificing nothing for these people. Not a fucking thing. Not my, you know, not my soul, you know, like, but yeah, it's all been an offering to God, always. And so if I had to, I thank God for all the blessings, for how far I've come, for all that I've achieved. If I never achieved anything else, I've already gone farther than I ever thought I would as a kid. And so, yeah, every now and again, I guess, you know, God wants to check in to make sure that I'm still that dude. And I thank God I still am.
Yeah, you did say that we're depleting you, but we got two more questions. You up for it? And they're from some a great brother and personally my great uncle. I think everybody else calls him uncle, but he's really my Uncle Mike.
Mm.
Whoever wants to start, go right ahead. I think Kenyatta was on another call.
As okay, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
going yet, and we can
You can hear
bring
me?
it back in December.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Odom, I would like to thank you for dropping those gems on us and your humility. I had a question for you about fatherhood. When it comes to your children, how and with your stardom, is it difficult of like if you're going on a class trip with them to be active in their education? Is it difficult for you, or do you find it normal?
I think somebody needs to mute. Sorry.
Yeah, so far so good. You know, I don't kid myself, you know, I'm not Will Smith or anything like that. Like the kids, you know, kids like Hamilton, you know, so they sometimes they have a few questions about that when I'm first around. But then they get over it, and you know, they're, kids are beautifully self-centered in that way. So they're really just all about themselves. So it hasn't been hard. And even like out in the world, I find, you know, so far so good. Like out in the world, I operate off of a kind of thing of like, if you don't want to be chased, don't run kind of thing. So like I'm not, I don't really have a paparazzi issue and stuff. I don't move like that. I didn't get into it for that. I really am trying to, I really am so interested in the work, in the creativity. I hope that I do work. I hope that I'm at least, mid-career, if not just getting started, of delivering works that electrify, that challenge, that really charge you guys. I'm really hoping I can do a movie that gets this chat fired up. Like, hey, yo, did y'all see the new okay, y'all need to go see that. I really want to do stuff that matters in the culture. So that, and everything else I couldn't care less about. I just don't give a fuck. So I don't run. I'm not somebody, you don't got to chase me. I'm not running. You want a picture? Here's a picture. You want an autograph? There you go. Like, we don't make it weird.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Uncle Mike?
Yeah, Leslie, thanks so much for your time. It's such a blessing to have you on this evening. And so many things that you said, I am just in such an alignment of what I believe in. And I try to practice, my faith in God, journaling, taking care of myself physically. Something you touched on, I was going to inquire about, but you mentioned it. And if you could just, interest of time, just covered it a little, because some of us brothers struggle with it. You mentioned therapy. And if you could just share that, how therapy has played a role in your journey, I would appreciate it.
Thank you for asking. It's another bill, right? So for some people, like, that becomes a thing. Like, I don't need another bill. So I have compassion for that. And I'll say it's money well spent, man. Once a month, if you can get with somebody once a month, man, you can find somebody for, like, you know, an expensive therapist is like $250, $300. That's a very expensive therapist. You can usually find somebody between, $150, $200 once a month to really, come in and find somebody that's helpful. Not unlike the journaling. The journaling really allows you to consult. I would recommend the journaling even over the therapy, like therapy number 2, because the journaling allows you to consult your own wisdom. How many of y'all, how many of us, so often we're the guy that our friends call for advice? We're the voice of reason for so many people, right? Journaling allows you the benefit of your own wisdom. Because for the first time, you get some distance from yourself, and so you can help yourself. You can go, I see what I know. I know the answers. You know what I mean? But you gotta, like, we have to separate ourselves out. But therapy has also been incredible for me to get the benefit of somebody else's wisdom, professional help. It was, when it was, I'll say that this is probably the most helpful thing for my wife. A couple years ago, the first time we got into couples therapy, I was really wary of it, because I was like, I don't want, does this just mean we're in therapy now? Like, we're just like therapy people, but as long as we're married, we're going to be in therapy. And what I said to her was, I want a goal. Like, I want to go into therapy to get something, and when we get it, I want to be out. you know and that's what we did. What the therapist in that context gave me was tools, because I really felt, I was about 40 years old then. What I really felt was like, I am tapped out. Like, whatever mommy and daddy gave me, whatever my childhood gave me, like, I am very aware that you are asking more of me, and I promise you, I'm not hiding it. I'm not hiding no more. Like, I don't know nothing else. I don't know nothing else. And so I went into therapy very much like that. Hey, yo, please, like, lady, I need you to give me some, like, tools for this toolkit. And she did, and she really, really did. We went to her for a few months. And now what we do is, because we have a relationship with her, if there's ever something we can't solve, we have this person that we can go to and be like, okay, we're in a thing, we need you to help us. And so she's been wonderful. But in my situation, it's been just realizing I was tapped out and that I really am doing the best that I could, and just like seeking a professional to help me. Like, why do I keep making this mistake? Or why do I'm doing this? I don't want to do this thing, but yet I keep losing my temper right here. What the fuck is that? I keep failing myself in this way. I'm sick of this. Like, will somebody please help me? So it's really good for, like, yeah, patterns, like learning how to recognize your patterns and make new choices.
Excellent.
Thank
Very
you. Thank you. Thank you. Right on point.
absolutely. We'll go to Austin. I said two, but we'll go to Austin. I just want to say something quick afterwards, and then let our founder, Dirk Phillips, kind of close us out, if that's okay.
All right, thanks for letting me go through. I know you said two, so I guess I'm the last the last hitter. Thank you for your time, Leslie. Like, this has been great. You dropped so many gems. I really appreciate all the work that you've done and gracing the stage here today. But so I actually was in the film industry. I spent about a decade. I did a number of films and TV shows. And I always found like the hardest thing was, maintaining a level head, maintaining how should I say, like I guess like a peace while doing the work. 'Cause, like the days get long and they lasted what, like I think I remember working we were working like around 80 hours a week or so. So like how do you maintain a peace? How do you have you found that community of artists that helps you maintain that peace? And yeah, that's really my question is.
Thanks for the question. For me, this is seasonal work,
Okay.
And I have just never lost sight of that. I feel like, coming from the theater, I think that's the first thing, whenever, if you have gotten a job in your life where you were paid $400 a week and you praised God,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so the day comes when you're making 10 or 20 times that. I've never forgotten how I started. And then I usually the fact, like, remembering that all these jobs are, they begin and they end, like all my jobs. Hamilton, I was 34 years old when Hamilton was the first job that I had for a year in my life.
Wow.
All my jobs end. My jobs,
Yeah, yeah.
they start and they end. So if I have a job that lasts a little bit, I just remember that it's going to end too. So I try to, that gives me a peace, because I know that it's seasonal, it's cyclical, they begin and they end. Thank you for the question.
Sure, yeah.
Awesome. And now the sun is set in the west. We see like we're gonna let you enjoy time with the family. One, I want to say on behalf of the brothers, thank you, thank you, thank you. Such powerful, such insight, such heartfelt testimonial. And we appreciate it. Two, once you come on this call, you're part of our group. So you're always welcome back. And you don't necessarily have to have the stage. While we welcome that, this is a safe space for you too, brother.
I don't need it. Believe me, I don't need it. I appreciate the invitation, and I will absolutely be joining y'all as a part of the community in the future. Absolutely.
Excellent. The last thing I wanted to plug was I'm the chairperson of our Daddy Daughter Dance, and you're more than welcome if you happen to be in the New York City area in February. It's a powerful experience to see all these Black kings with their little princesses of all ages. Again, you're more than welcome. So, thank you, Uncle Derek. You can take us home.
Leslie, again, man, brother, just thank you, man, for just showing up, and just being a part of this group, because one of the things is just also with this group is that, the vulnerability that you've shown in honesty, that is upon in terms of us as a strength. And that's what we constantly promote in terms of being vulnerable. And a lot of times as Black men, we have spaces where we can go to and just be honest and be real. And that's why it's called Real, this Real Dads Network. We're just real. We have honest and upfront conversations. We're here to support each other. And this is a safe space for all of us. So I just want to just thank you, brother, for just being, you said, yo, I'm going to be there. When I said, yo, we got this Black fatherhood group, I need you to show up. You said, yo, not a problem. I'm there. So I just really appreciate that. That really meant a lot. For you just being here, just being real and honest. So we really appreciate that, my brother. And I will definitely be reaching out to you. We'd definitely love for you to be involved as well in any capacity that you can as well. I know it's late. I see the sun is going down. It's kind of late.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, man.
God bless y'all. Thank you.
All right, peace.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Brothers. That was nice. That was really good.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we record. That's something that I'm gonna go back and look, because there was too much